Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining today. Thank you. Thank you as always. I should have my new thing done by next week. It's going to be a really cool custom intro and everything. I feel naked without a watch on. I'll tell you that. I need to put it on. But guys, sorry, I had a little bit of internet issues. I started going live and it was like connect to internet. So technical difficulties, but nonetheless, we are good. Got some big things to talk about today. The market to me feels too good in a time that macro feels too bad. It almost feels like we're completely disconnected between the two. And at a certain point, I have a feeling this is going to merge together. Either macro is going to get good and line up with what the finances look like, or the other way is going to happen. And I'll tell you which one I think that is in here. We're going to talk about a lot. Not only are we going to talk about oil and Bitcoin and the Qs and all that, we're going to talk about, is it the end of NATO? Is there WW3 coming? Could this get a lot worse before it gets better? But the good news is that somebody like me, somebody that trades, I'm able to make money both ways in the market, going up, going down. It really doesn't matter. In fact, what matters the most is volatility. Volatility to a trader is what matters. So you got to know that you can make money going up, going down. But you also got to know, guys, that nothing I ever say is financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, and always do your own research. But is it a huge bull trap? It's kind of what I'm fearing. How high does it go? You can see we went up to 76K earlier and pulled back a lot. We're going to get into it. I want to announce new sponsor of the stream, Monster. No, I'm just joking. But I wish. Maybe one day we'll have that kind of clout. But for now, we don't. My wife bought me a sugar-free Monster because coming home from vacation, I'm still feeling a little rough. But we got a lot to get into today. As always, I'll be going over some of my trades, and all of these trades I do over on Blowfin. Shout out to them. They are the official stream sponsor. If you are looking for somewhere to trade, there will be a link down below or a QR code up on the screen for the next few minutes. I will leave that up there. I will remove the banner now. Let's get into it. Good morning, Michael. What's up, LFG? Happy to see you, brother. Happy to see you. We got, already over 100 people in here. That's good between X and YouTube. Yesterday, we got up to about 400 concurrent. Most days, it's about 250. And then the clips do really good. I'm really excited about that. Am in the process of talking to a few more people for an additional stream sponsor where the Algorand logo used to be. Algorand's great. They're still a partner of the channel, just not the stream necessarily. But it's all good. We are moving on. Only reputable projects, though. I'm not going to have any kind of sketchy thing up there. I don't work. I care more about my community. I care more about my reputation. I care more about authenticity than I do of taking any money to put some random meme coin up there or something. So you're never going to see that. If you ever see that, say, Freeman, you okay? You need a little loan or something? You looking bad. Somebody told me something yesterday, so let's get into it real quick. Real quick, guys, if you're over on YouTube, we have a new TAO video that came out. We're continuing to have interviews. Here's the Anthony Pompliano interview. We had someone from BSV. We're going to have Cubic up. We're going to have Canton up soon, which is one of the top, I think they're 14th ranked overall real world asset project. Number one real world asset project, but 14th overall crypto. But as always, if you're over on YouTube, I want you to do this. Look at your hand, pull down these 4 fingers and click the like button. Okay. I need you to do that. It helps a lot. And if you are not already subscribed, please do that. But I started the X account a long time after the YouTube account. And I have some people to thank right here. I hit 14K followers. I posted this yesterday and passed my YouTube following. For now, I can't tell you how appreciative of you, of everyone that I am, and that is true from the bottom of my heart. I thank you all. I truly, truly do. I had someone on here post yesterday and getting into the meme coin thing I was just talking about. I think it's funny. He said, if your channel was a coin, it would be so undervalued right now. And it means a lot to me, right? Yeah, Caleb's in the Discord. He's been in there since the very beginning. Awesome guy. But I said, thank you, brother. Just FYI, the day I launch a coin, it means one or two things happen. I got hacked, or life went south and I'm deeply broke. So even if I was broke, I don't think I would ever launch a coin. I think I'd just go back to being a chemical engineer and stuff. What's up, brother? It's going good. It's going good. Got to get my energy up a little bit. I woke up really early this morning. Yesterday, we had a baseball game. I'm head coach of my son's 6 and under T-ball team. And so we had that. We tied 10-10. Every game so far has been 10-10. I'm coach, and then whenever our team's batting, I'm on third base, and I mean those kids, they can't throw anybody out at home or anything, so I'm just sending them. Come on, go home, go home, go home. And I'm really energetic. I'm running with the kids. I'm stretching with the kids. I'm doing everything. So my hamstring is a little sore today. But my son hit a grand slam last night, which was super, super cool. Daddy was super proud of him. And so it's going good. It's going very good. But we got a lot of stuff to talk about, guys. We got a lot of stuff to cover. Trump, as always, has been talking. The world's been talking. This is kind of a good point. I haven't even seen this yet. Ted said, choose your side, crypto versus commodities. It's a volatility versus macro for the next 14 days. I'm backing commodities to outperform crypto. So a lot of people would consider Bitcoin a commodity in terms of the way it's taxed and things like that, or the way that it moves, digital gold. However, oil and things like that, it's trying to be held down, but I don't think it's going to be for long. So let's come over here to Blowfin and take a look at BTC. I've closed out some trades recently that we can go over as well. If I can look at some of the position history. Let's see. Let me come. I think I actually posted them over here. And I don't do any of this to brag, anything like that. Just showing that, if you have a good strategy, if you have a good strategy, if you're disciplined, if you know what you're doing, you can make money going up or down. This was oil last night, 40% return on oil. Yesterday, I showed y'all a 40% and a 70% return on actually a short for BitTensor TAO, which TAO's the most bullish project right now. And so I'm trading it in order to get more spot TAO. And I released a video this morning that's up on YouTube and X. Y'all can go watch it after that. But it was right here. I shorted TAO at 300 for one reason. Everything I'm doing is to get more spot TAO. So the chart's going to do what the chart's going to do, right? And I can't control that, but I can trade that. This is a $3 billion market cap. This isn't a $3 million market cap. So can't control that, but I can trade it, and I can add to my spot TAO bag. And the lower it goes, the better for me, because I have long-term conviction in it. I'm just not certain it's going to go too terribly low because of the fact that there is big demand for the subnets. But we can dive into that. If y'all want me to look at anything in particular, just let me know. But let's break down the charts. Coming over here, let's go back to the 4-hour so we can kind of see this full range. And I've been basically scalp trading this whole thing. If we get low, if we get high, I sell a short, close it. If we get, you can see it. A lot of trading patterns all over the place, guys. And I post all of these in Discord. I don't really promote the Discord too much, but it is there. We've got a really good community. And I'd rather keep it that way. I wouldn't want it to get huge where there's a whole bunch of randos in there. But we definitely have some alpha, I think. So basically, we're still in this bear flag. And worried that we are coming up on a bull trap. And I want to get into the macro of this in a little bit. But really, I wish I would have been paying attention during this. And it happened very, very quickly. If we go to a lower time frame, you can see within the matter of 30 minutes, it went from about 74.5 to over 76 and back down, because I would have shorted here. Even if I'm bullish, like I don't really take a lot of trades. You can see there's no trades in this mid range, right? Because when you're trading in the mid range, you're kind of like a coin flip, right? Okay, 5% move down or a 7% move up, right? It's kind of like a coin flip. Which way is it's going to go? Where do you set your stop loss? Where do you blah, 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 blah. I'm just not that type of trader. I'm very conservative. And so taking something on this trend line right here is pretty easy, because, if you were to enter at, say, 76 and you set your invalidation a few $100s up above that, the risk reward to that, and I talk about this a lot, guys, never financial advice, but that's a, say, 1-2% loss at most. So on 10x leverage, a 10% loss for the possibility to make, 110% gain, and so that's kind of how I look at everything. And I think you have to be patient when it comes to trading. Like the BitTensor TAO one, if we want to look at it, that was pretty easy too, because 300 is a huge psychological level. You know what I mean? Like huge psychological level. If it goes up, goes down, big deal. But let's break down TAO a little bit now, because I am extremely bullish on BitTensor TAO, as you all know. This wouldn't be the cleanest head and shoulders that there is. It would have been better if this had went up a little bit more, but this is a low time frame, this 15-minute time frame. So, just remember, technical analysis is all based on human psychology, and it's just a rough, a guideline. But if that is what this ends up being, the first target for it would be somewhere around 240, which you can see we have this big pocket of support right there. And we could draw the fib in two different ways if we want. If you look at the video I posted earlier, I drew it in more of a macro wave, where this would be the wave 1, and then 2, and then 3 was the big one. If we do it in another way, it would be 1, 2, 3. And I would prefer that not to be the case, because the wave 3 is typically the furthest extended wave. Like there's still 5 that comes, but 5 would probably peg out somewhere around like, 400 or something. Like it's just a smaller extension, typically, if you're looking at technical analysis. But so I like to do it from like this macro point of view. And if we do that macro point of view, meaning from the swing low of the bear market, assuming the low is in, go up to 300. We have these levels right here. The 618 fib levels 203, the 786 fib levels 177. There's a ton of support right there. So, if I'm able to trade this and be able to acquire, double the TAO than what I originally had, I think that's a win-win, because I showed yesterday in market cap of that if TAO just got to the market cap of Solana currently, it'd be a 5K TAO. And we're talking about, I truly believe that BitTensor TAO is the first crypto ecosystem that we have seen develop since Solana. And what I mean by that is when you have a crypto, a layer 1, that is the coin. Then on top of that's built tokens, right? That's what meme coins are. That's what, all these other coins that are built on top of Ethereum and Solana. But you have to get the coin first to interact on the network. And it's the same principle with BitTensor, except it's they're subnets and they're very expensive. I think it costs about $200,000 right now in TAO to launch a subnet. So it's not like you're never going to have a pump fund on BitTensor network where people are just launching things for 12 cents and rugging them. Like, these are legit little companies. And Grayscale's getting involved. They already have an ETF. I've seen multiple TradFi people in interviews, and I'll try to find some of them here in a little bit, where they're like, "What's your advice?" And he was like, "Hey, if you're wanting to go out and have drinks one night, stay home, drink water, and instead of spending $100 on drink, buy a little bit of towel." And that's the same thing we heard back in the day from like Da Vinci Jeremy, which I honestly think that dude just got lucky. I really think he's like a I don't want to say the wrong word, but I really think he's a fraud, if I'm just being completely honest. I think he got completely lucky on that, Da Vinci Jeremy, because if you were really at $1 telling people to buy BTC at $1 and you were doing it and you held for any period of time, why would you randomly show meme coins, that are obviously paid promotion, right? So that's what I mean by that. No complete hate on him, but I just don't think he's as good as he says he is. But to be completely fair, I'm probably not as good as I think I am at trading. But I acknowledge that a lot of the time. But yeah, so for BitTensor TAO, there's definitely, I know a lot of people get FOMO and things like that, but I would just be cautious, be cautious. Either way, I mean, I think this thing's the future. I think this is the first developing ecosystem that we've seen since Solana. And the subnets are going to have a tremendous amount of institutional interest in them. And I'm trying to pull up TAO stats right now, and I'll show you what I mean. We were reviewing this yesterday. So these are the subnets. So to launch a subnet, it costs, hundreds of thousands right now. And so these are not anything that are small, meme coin type things. I'm trying to find overall market cap, volume to market cap ratio. That's a good one. So yeah, right here you could see Chutes is the number one. We'll see what the market cap is. I'm pretty sure it's over 100 mil. Yeah, 117 mil, but still, like I showed yesterday in the video that you can go watch after this, Shiba Inu hit 45 billion. That's 15 times what BitTensor is. Like, these are literally AI companies right here. And we could see a ton of demand for some of these. And the only way you get access to these is by getting this up in the top left, BitTensor TAO. The one that was very, very popular lately is Templar, which is a large language model. And in that video, what I talk about is that, right now, OpenAI, they want to IPO for 800 billion to $1 trillion. Okay. And here is a decentralized large language model for 78 mil. You see what I'm saying? But, obviously you're going to have volatility in these. You're going to have profit taken in these. If you just look at this, just going back to the beginning of March, this thing did a 2x, in the time that TAO did a 50%, so like a 0.5x. So obviously, there is, volatility in these. These have potential to grow more. But if you're somebody that's like, hey, I'm just interested in the future of decentralized artificial intelligence. I don't know which individual subnet's going to do good, going to get all the market share, but if this goes up to billions, that's just going to add to BitTensor TAO, right? And so that's kind of my thing. I'm making an overall bet on BitTensor TAO as a decentralized network. So I'm very, 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 very excited about that. But that's kind of what I'm looking at right here. We could see I have two trend lines. This one from the very top coming down because I have these touch points. And then this one right here, which has touch points from back here before this quick breakout right here, right here, right here, right here. And that's where we are right now. So this is something we will monitor throughout the stream to see if we either get rejected here or if we break above retest and go back up and challenge 300 again. And so I definitely want to take a look at that, and we'll keep everyone in the Discord updated with what I do. If it's on stream, I'll keep it updated on stream, and then I'll post it on X shortly thereafter. But TAO aside, because TAO has actual demand for the subnets, okay? Everything else that's moving right now is just moving because Bitcoin is moving pretty much, or any other AI project is just moving because, well, TAO's moving, so maybe all the AI projects will move, right? And so people are getting into that. But BitTensor aside, because it has actual demand, I'm a little worried about a bull trap. I'm a little worried about a bull trap, and that's what I want to get into now. Y'all know that last week I was short the Qs. I am not short the Qs right now, but I am wanting to. You could see today we came up and basically got rejected from this, semicircle, which you can't use this as really a touch point. It's not really a trend line. It's more just to show the shape of a rolling top and what I think this is. But the technical target for me is 550. And it really just depends on how bad macro gets, And so we've seen a really quick rejection on BTC whenever we came up here to this trend line. Let's see if we retest it. Okay, we look like we could be forming a little bit of a inverse head and shoulders right here, which would probably take us back up to that level. So let's keep an eye on that. But if we come over here and we look at the liquidity heat map, and we could see that there's a lot of liquidity up here, okay, liquidations for shorts at around 77K. So if we come back over here and take a look at what that would look like, 77K would be right about here. Okay. And so I could see a nasty bull trap. I don't know if this is going to happen. I'm just saying be cautious of it. I could see a nasty bull trap to where we do this, and then eventually go lower. And the reason is not so much Bitcoin itself, not so much crypto itself, because it's actually showing a ton of strength. It's just all the macro, we're yet to see a huge correction in stocks. There's an analyst, which, take this with a grain of salt, analyst, right? Think that we could see a 10 to 15%, correction. So that's anywhere between 550 on the NASDAQ or on the Qs and 500 essentially, which is a pretty large drop for the stock market. But when you zoom out, it's just normal, like if this chart did this, that would be normal when you go back in time and you look at it, right? I mean, it wouldn't be anything alarming, but it would make sense. And y'all know I'm somebody that I am technical analysis before I am macro. I just believe that the macro incentivizes the chart to do what it was already going to do. Okay. But so we have a lot of liquidity down here. Okay, I'm sure we have more liquidity down at 60 that I can't see on the 48 hour. Let's see if I can get this to load. It wasn't loading earlier, but that might have been my internet problem. Let's see if we can get that to load. Thank you, Cloud. Glad to see you here. Long-term supporter of me. I always want to be loyal to everybody. But I'm not the only one that thinks this, right? And if you look on CT right now, everyone's moon boying. Okay. Everyone's like, we're back. We're back. And trust me, I want us to be back. I want us to be back more than ever. But I'm just sticking to my thesis. And demand for downside protection on U.S. stocks is rapidly rising. The 1 month put call skew. So puts are when people are betting on the market to go down. Calls are where people are betting on the market to go up. For the S&P 500 is up 12 points, the steepest since December 2021. This means investors are paying some of the highest premiums for bets on lower prices over bets on higher prices since the 2020 crash. So typically institutions, Wall Street's hedge funds, they're typically kind of ahead of the game than retail. And retail's been buying the dip heavily. I think retail's the only reason we haven't broke some of these key levels, such as 582 on the Qs. But this is going on. What we're also having going on is oil prices are continuing to rise. I showed y'all over here, if we go back over to Blowfin, that I had a long on this last night from, I think it was right over here. There was a double bottom somewhere, and but I ended up closing it at about a 35% gain. But it looks like it's ready to make a move somewhere. And if oil goes up, stocks will most likely go down. That's how it's been interacting so far. And so we're tightening up a lot if you look at this range, but there's a lot of reasons to think that this is going to get worse before it gets better in terms of oil. So oil prices rose more than 1% on Tuesday as renewed Iranian attacks on the UAE highlighted concerns about worsening outlook for global supply if there is no quick resolution to the U.S.-Israeli war in Iran. And I want to show y'all a couple things that make me think it is not going to be over quickly. If we look right here, this is a post from the President of the United States about an hour ago, 2 hours ago. And it says, the United States has been informed by most of our NATO allies that they do not want to get involved with our military operation against Iran in the Middle East, despite the fact that almost every country strongly agreed with what we were doing and that Iran cannot in any way, shape, or form be allowed to have nukes. I am not surprised by their action. However, I've always considered NATO, where we spend hundreds of billions of dollars per year protecting these countries, to be a one-way street. We will protect them, but they will do nothing for us, in particular, in a time of need. Fortunately, we have decimated the military. Their Navy's gone, their Air Force is gone, their aircraft, anti-aircraft, radar gone. Perhaps most importantly, their leaders at virtually every level are gone, never to threaten us, our Middle Eastern allies, or the world again. Because of the fact that we have such military success, we no longer need or desire our NATO countries' assistance. We never did. Likewise, Japan, Australia, or South Korea. In fact, speaking as a president of the United States and by far the most powerful country anywhere in the world, we do not need the help of anyone. Thank you to your attention to this matter. And so, this just goes to show that I think that we are in a huge change going throughout the world. And this could lead to huge global instability, more so than oil. Oil is typically the catalyst for a recession. High oil prices lead to high inflation. High inflation leads to the central banks around the world not being able to cut interest rates. Not being able to cut interest rates makes things more expensive, but also squeezes Wall Street's budgets, or these companies in Wall Street. When that is squeezed, companies do layoffs. When companies do layoffs, people can't afford to pay their bills. When people can't afford to pay their bills, they foreclose on their home. They do all of that. And so this is a really big deal when we look at oil, when we look at everything. If we come over, and I'll be covering this live stream tomorrow, there is essentially a 0% chance of a rate cut. The market already knows this, okay? But what we want to sit there and look at is Jerome Powell's tone. And I have a feeling he's going to be very, very hawkish. He has no reason to be dovish. He's coming out May 17th will be his last day as federal chair. He has a bad relationship with Trump. He probably doesn't agree with what Trump is doing, and he might cite what other countries around the world are doing. Australia's central bank hikes interest rates. They raised interest rates. That's honestly probably what our Federal Reserve should do. I mean, inflation is going to be going up as a matter of this. And in fact, tomorrow we have PPI data come out. Last week we had CPI data came out. Tomorrow we have PPI, which will show more of how it affects businesses, inflation. The problem is that all this data is lagging. So this high oil is not going to really be in those reports, right? Because we're going to get February's reports. However, Australia's already raising interest rates for the second straight month in a tight call on Tuesday, warning of a material risk to inflation as policymakers stepped in to a volatile global backdrop amid an intensifying Middle East conflict. The Reserve Bank of Australia kicked off a critical week for major central banks as strikes on Iran unleash an oil shock. So you see other countries are starting to raise interest rates. And if you even come further, the U.S. Treasury protected to buy back $15 billion of their own debt today, surpassing last week's $14.7 billion purchase. So they see that there's fear in the bond market, and they're trying to soften that by buying back their own debt. There's a whole bunch of funny money being played around. But none of this is a good sign globally for anything. Hold on. I'm making some notes here. I'm a note taker, guys. I still like to take notes. And so, and another reason why, even though they keep saying this is almost over and everything, is, oil is going up because the Strait of Hormuz is closed. Okay. Trump was wanting a whole bunch of different countries to send military in there to help get it open. Well, there was just this gentleman, Joe Kent, who released something today. After much reflection, I have decided to resign from my position as the director of National Counterterrorism Center effective today. I cannot, in good conscience, support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby, referring to AIPAC. It has been an honor serving under POTUS and Kelsey Gabbard, leading professionals. And so let's read this, see if it I support the values and foreign policies that you campaigned on. This is a letter to the president. In 2016, 2020, and 2024, which you enacted in your first term until June of 2025. You understood that the wars in the Middle East were a trap that robbed America of precious lives and our patriots and depleted the wealth and prosperity of our nation. In your first administration, you understood that better than any modern presidency, how to decisively apply military pressure without getting drawn into never-ending wars. You demonstrated this with ISIS, and then that Soleimani was someone in Iran. Earlier in this administration, high-ranking Israeli officials and influential members of the First America media deployed a misinformation campaign that wholly undermined your American First platform and sowed pro-war sentiments to encourage a war with Iran. This echo chamber was used to deceive you into believing that Iran posed an imminent threat to the United States, that you should strike now, that there was a clear path to a swift victory. This was a lie and is the same tactic that Israelis used to draw us into the disastrous Iraq war that cost our nation the lives of thousands of our best men and women. We cannot make this mistake again. As a veteran who deployed to combat 11 times, and as a Gold Star husband who lost my beloved wife Sharon in a manufactured war by Israel, I cannot support sending the next generation off to fight and die in a war that serves no benefit to the American people, nor justifies the cost of American lives. I pray that you will reflect upon what we are doing in Iran, who we are doing it for. The time for bold action is now. You can reverse course, chart a new path for our nation, or you can allow us to slip further into decline and chaos. You hold the cards. This is huge. This is the director of National Counterterrorism Center. I mean, that is massive what he just said. Like, I'm almost almost can't react to it. It's so big. The director of National Counterterrorism Center resigned. And trust me, this guy knows a lot more than any of us about what's actually going on. And he said there was no reason that we did this. And just wow. And so obviously, this gentleman, if he thought it was going to be over next week, would he have resigned? I don't think so. And so I'm just drastically concerned that we are in a huge bull trap right now. And that that it's going to get worse before it gets better. And it's going to be led by oil. With that being said, I plan on making money the entire time. Long, short, oil, gold, Bitcoin, TAO, don't matter. It don't matter. Just got in. Is it pass? What do you mean? From someone that saw 3 bear markets, no, we aren't back. Time to stable now if you haven't yet. Not financial advice, but yeah, I mean, smart man right there. I mean, and it obviously depends on, entries and stuff like that, right? If you're up major, if you're down major, if you're someone that got into BTC at 3K and you're just planning on holding forever, well then, is it going to go under 3K? We got much bigger problems if it does. But yeah, I mean, if, I tend to agree. Which is why I'm being cautious. And one thing I talk about in the Discord all the time is, when I invest in something, if I do a 2X, I pull out my initials. And it's all because the number one thing you can do in this market is protect capital. The worst mistake I've seen people do, and I've been in crypto since the early Dogecoin days, okay? I even bought Bitcoin back in like 2013, and like I'm $50 worth of it, $100 worth of it back when I was in high school, getting out of high school. Now I sold it all. I actually had a funny joke about me trading it for something. But so I didn't have enough wealth or money for it to make a difference. But I heavily got into crypto around the 2017 era. But even back then I didn't have enough money to really make a difference. But I've seen a lot. And the number one mistake that I've seen people make throughout this entire crypto journey is that people get impatient and people try to trade and people change their thesis, right? They think we're going lower to 55 to 40. They think we're going to bottom in October, but then the market starts pumping up and you're on X and KOLs are screaming it's going to the moon, and then everybody's moon boying and you start seeing P&Ls posted and you start seeing all this, and then they sit there and they lose 75, 80, 90, 100% of their bag. And next thing you know, the bear market's over and they don't have any liquidity. And that's the number one problem that I've seen people literally fumble generational wealth, or at least your life wealth, because you see people all the time post out, I made, $38 million. I'm like, man, you don't need all that. You know what I mean? Like, how much is your house? How good would you feel as a man, as a woman, as a family person to have a paid off house? Like these things, never financial advice, but they are achievable in crypto. And I love bear markets because I try to be disciplined. And I've learned from very painful mistakes. The things that I've talked to you about, I've done that before. I've lost everything trying to trade coins in a bear market and just down horrible, but I've learned my lesson. And the number one thing that can be done in a bear market is wait for as close of a bottom as you can. And right now, the signs just aren't pointing towards that. The signs are pointing towards a complete disconnection between the financial markets, whether that's stock or crypto, and what's going on macro-wise. And everything that I just showed doesn't look like the macro is getting better anytime soon. And the Fed's in a very tough position. Let me make a couple more notes real quick. So that would be my advice. Let's go back and look at the Qs. They're starting to go up. And I'm not really good at options. I've said this before. I'm typically pretty good at knowing where the market's going to go, but I'm typically wrong on timing by a little bit, I told y'all I went all cash in my 401k back in November, which has turned out to be a good move. But there was one point where I would have been up another 3%, right? And so off a little bit, but right now, like I said, it's very beneficial. I'm still all cash in IRA and because I've transferred that to an IRA. And so that's why I like this. This is a triple leveraged, basically NASDAQ short. So this going up means the NASDAQ's going down. And so I can buy this and essentially it's a 1% fee a year. So if you break that out, 3 months would be a 0.25%, fee, which is a higher fee, but it's still nothing compared to being off a week or two in an option that expires worthless, And so I'm coming over here to my other tab and I'll pull something up. But something that is cool is that like the perp game is going to change everything because like this is the Qs right here. And just like with oil, it could just be shorted, like it's crazy. The perp game's going to change everything. I think that options may not even be a thing in a certain amount of time. Because it just is, it's so easy. It's so easy. So let me, I'll kind of show y'all something. Like I've got everything hidden, I think. Let me look. Don't want to give up too much personal info, but I've got a pretty big order set down here at 70, which would be like 607 or 608 on the Qs. So like if this got back up to like this level somewhere, but I would like to get into a position today on this. So even if it doesn't come down here, I may potentially move that up. Let's go. I want to show y'all. I think I bookmarked it. Something else. So this is something else. Another reason why this may not be over as soon as we think it will be over.
Mr. Prime Minister, I wanted you to know the president asked me to come and make sure you were okay.
Yes, Mike. Yes.
Can y'all hear that? Let me know if you can hear that real quick, and then I'll restart playing it. But somebody let me know if y'all can hear that. I got the volume up about as much as I can put it up. But this is Mike Huckabee. So he's the, I forget the official thing, but like the United States Embassy to Israel. Okay. He's a long time, political, I think it was a senator. He ran for president, stuff like that. And this is Benjamin Netanyahu, who is the prime minister of Israel. And so, thank you, Jazz.
Mr. Prime Minister, I wanted you to know the president asked me to come and make sure you were okay.
Yes, Mike. Yes, I'm alive.
I checked that, and I'm happy to see that. But he wanted to make sure because, you guys get along too well.
I know, and we shake hands with 5 fingers in each hand. But I have to tell you, I'm alive, but I have this card.
Oh.
And yeah, don't read it. So it's a punch card.
Mm-hmm.
Today I erased 2 names on the punch cards, and you see how many more to go.
So they're not wearing microphones. It looks like it's just like the camera audio. So it's quiet even for me. But what he just said was, I'm okay. But you see this punch card? You see all these 40-something names that are taken out of the punch card? He goes, we marked off 2 more today. And if you listen, so that's meaning like people that in the Iranian military that, are no longer there. But he says there's a lot more to go.
2 names on the punch cards, and you see how many more to go on this batch.
You know what the good news is? My name is not on the punch card.
Your name is on the list of the good guys.
Thank you.
And what the president, the U.S. forces.
And then he said on this batch, meaning that there's other batches. Can you show what the Fed did when news about COVID or Ukraine started bubbling? Everyone was disconnected there too. How did the market react to the Fed decision? Yeah, so good comparison. So let's come over here to TradingView. And if you ever want to look at the Fed's balance sheet, what you want to look for, I'll show you, is this right here, USC BBS, okay? So this is the balance sheet of the Federal Reserve. Okay, so back here was 2019. Now, I don't think they really did much with the Ukraine thing. I don't think that oil did spike back then, but it was pretty short-lived, and it was mainly just on fears, not actual shortages or anything, because, I mean, let's be honest, nobody's really getting their oil from Ukraine or them or, Russia too much. There's sanctions on Russia and things like that. So let's take a look at this. Back to illness that we had. If we look at this right here, so this is when the Fed started raising balance sheets. Okay, so basically what this means is when this goes up, this is money printing. When this goes down, that's taking money out of circulation, essentially tightening liquidity. You can see we're at peak liquidity tightening right here. Okay, so we're no longer tightening. Okay, but we're not easing either. Okay. And so this isn't going up anymore, but let's take a look at that. And that's the problem with inflation, right? When inflation goes up, then it's really hard to, increase the balance sheet, right? And so if we look at this right here, this is January of 2019. Okay. So this is right around, and this is July of 2019. So I'm on 6 months. Let me go down lower. Let me go down here. And guys, if you don't mind, if you're not subscribed over on YouTube, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. I'm not trying to be biased, but I definitely think I'm underrated on YouTube for now. But soon we're going to be 100K plus, so it's okay. So right here, you can see this is August. Okay. If we come right here, this is really where the QE started happening. Okay. So let's say February 2020. Okay. Now let's open this up again. So here's January 2020. Okay. If we come back over here, this is January 2020. Okay. So at this point, we had a decline from 240 to about 164, which if we do that math, that's about a 33% correction. If you look at the time that we got up to this point right here, it was May 2020. And so that was an increase of the balance sheet of about 75% or $3 trillion. So May 2020, and if we come over and look at May 2020, you could see that we had went from 181 to 220. So we went up, about 10% and everything. But if you pay attention, it took, over a year to hit market top, which just shows you that once the Fed does start increasing the balance sheet, that it's not an immediate reaction to markets, that it takes time for that liquidity to flow through the system. It takes time for that cheap liquidity to make it through the banking system, make it into the hands of investors and things like that. And so kind of my thesis has been, and the only thing that's throwing a wrench in that is the price of oil, is that the Fed, the new Federal Reserve chair, his first meeting is right here. We will mark it like this. So his first meeting is going to be June of 2026. Okay. Now, he has said that he's going to cut interest rates drastically, but he's also said that he wants a lower balance sheet, which are basically like an oxymoron. You really can't do that. Like it's basically one or the other, right? You can't like start selling stuff off the balance sheet and print money and lower interest rates. Like that would be a very long-term process. But, Trump appointed him for one reason, to cut interest rates, right? The problem is that with oil going up, that brings inflation up. And so the Fed has a dual mandate, or they always historically have had a dual mandate. And what that dual mandate is number one, keep prices rising at 2% a year. So that's 2% inflation. The second dual mandate is to keep employment high or unemployment low. Well, we're starting to see unemployment tick up, and we've never gotten back to that 2% inflation target anyway. So we've got higher than what they would want, okay, unemployment, which is 3 or 4 months decline. So people getting laid off now, that's not hitting. Like we've seen the job numbers last 2 weeks ago, it was expected to be 60K created jobs, and it was negative 90K created jobs. Okay. Like this is a very big deal, right? And so what we have is higher than normal unemployment and a slightly higher than normal inflation. But now with oil going up and with this Middle Eastern conflict not looking like it's going to resolve anytime soon, what happens if oil goes up? And then what happens if the market tanks and more people get laid off? The Fed will not cut interest rates. the Fed will crush the inflation and let a big recession happen. And the reason is because recessions reset countries. Runaway inflation destroys countries. And that's why you've seen the gold and silver and everything and this, de-dollarization, this hedge against the US dollar. That's why you've seen that. Now, there's another theory that I'll get into here in a second. But the new Fed chair has said that he expects the oil to be temporary. And so he is planning on ignoring the oil portion in CPI data, which means that he may still cut interest rates a lot, 0.5%, maybe a whole percent. And so my thesis has been, so let's take oil out of it for now, is that he'll start cutting here. He'll probably cut again here. And that, give it some time to run through the system. Give it to the end of the year, right? Give it 6 months for that money to start flowing through the system. And that's when I've thought that the bear market bottom would be in for BTC and also for stocks. But we've got to have a soft landing, and this oil is really throwing a wrench into everything. Because if we were, in my opinion, to start getting rate cuts here and this starts creeping up, markets probably wouldn't peak out as we seen in the last rate cut until, 2028 or something. Like it takes time for all that money to flow through the system. And so I was expecting the bottom to be in October, and I still am. I'm still hoping that this conflict overseas is over sooner than later, and that oil prices go down. But just looking at this in the short term, it doesn't look like it. And that's why I'm afraid that this is a massive bull trap. Let me know, buddy, Handed for Life, if that helped you out a little bit. I hope it did, and if that answered your question. And when I'm making notes for good clips so that we can get this out to people that weren't able to watch the live stream. Yo, can you check out the Kaspa chart? Can you confirm breakout? I'm not a PLPC to look at it. Yeah, we can take a look at the Kaspa chart. Please, have we broken out? Yeah, we're taking a look at it. I wouldn't get too excited though. I'll just be honest with you. But definitely helped you gain a new follower today. Very rational and no hype. Hey, thank you, man. I mean, I'll tell you what. Bitcoin was at 98K. This is after it came down from 126. And I made a post on X that went pretty viral, but it went viral because everybody was telling me how dumb I was, because I was like, hey guys, I think this is going to be a lower high. I think this is where we're going to go, at least to like 58. This is why there's this trend line going back from 1600 BTC. Here's the 200-week simple moving average. Here's the fibs. Here's the liquidity. This is what the stock market's doing. All this, right? And so nobody likes a bear, right? I don't like a bear. I don't like being bearish. I would much rather be up here and scream we're going to the moon. But I feel like anyone screaming that we're going to the moon right now is either uninformed on the macro, uninformed on technical analysis, or they're just lying and trying to get followers because people would much rather hear about being bullish, right? And so thank you very much. Well, welcome to the Finance Freeman family. Welcome. But yeah, let's go. Let's look at Kaspa. And I'll put up, we're looking at all this on Blowfin, guys, oil, everything. And they are the official stream sponsor for our stream. And so if anyone's looking for a new exchange, I highly recommend giving them the opportunity. So yeah, let's look at Kaspa. So it looks good, but I'll also tell you the bad parts, and we will go over that. So like on a high time frame, there's really no breakout. If we look at the low time frame, it got above the high that it did after the low, but it's not at the breakout. Like, it's just now at the breakdown point. You see, this was the big breakdown point right here. And so it's still coming up to this 4 cents level. And here's the reason I'm cautious on this. And I made a post about it. So let me go find that real quick, and then we're do a little segment on this. So when we're looking at the Kaspa chart right now, a lot of people are happy. There's been a lot of bullish price action. It looks good. If we look at the bottom, we are up from here. We're up about 50%, right? Here's why I'm cautious, and why in the beginning of the video I said that everything outside of BitTensor TAO. And I'll break this down a little bit for you. If we look at everything right now that's pumping, okay, Ethereum, it looks good. I'm not going to lie. The chart looks really good. All of the charts look bullish, okay? Every chart looks bullish. It's just hard for me not to imagine that this is just in a bull trap. I'm not saying we can't go higher, all of that, but with all the macro that we've lined out today, with everything going on in oil, this is why I'm cautious, especially on something like Kaspa. If we look at Kaspa, Kaspa's up 50% from this low right here, right? So we can all agree up 50% from that low. If we take a look at this, though, it's just moving as a proxy of Bitcoin, okay? The only reason any of this hyper liquid is moving because there's actual demand for the hype token, gas token on their perpetuals exchange. So that's different. If you look at anything else, though, Zcash is moving. It has its own demand, its own little cult. But everything else that's pumping, you know, meme core. Do you think there's a huge demand in meme core right now? No. Mantle? I don't think so. You know, Near Protocol's pumping because TAO's pumping, and you know, that internet computer's pumping because Bitcoin and AI is pumping a little bit. If you look at CAS, it's pumping, but the thing that differentiates it from BitTensor TAO right now, and the reason that the only thing I'm considering to potentially have a breakout outside of a lot of other tokens, is the simple fact that this tweet, okay, I said Kaspa and TAO are two great plays. However, there's a great lesson to be learned in demand. Solana ran not because folks loved the Sol token, okay? People weren't so obsessed with Sol that they wanted to buy Sol and stack it. No, they wanted to interact in the ecosystem. They needed to buy Solana in order to buy meme coins or whatever it was on Solana. If you look at TAO, TAO's not running right now because people are in love with TAO. Okay. Yes, there's people like me that are really into the decentralized AI infrastructure, the entirety. But the main reason it ran is because people were wanting to bid these subnets. Okay. These are individual AI company. On Solana, it was meme coins, but it's the same principle. It's the same exact principle that people have to buy TAO in order to get access to these subnets. The same way that people had to buy ETH to get access to NFTs last cycle. And right now that demand is not there for Kaspa, if we're just being honest. Now, if IGRA L2 continues to develop, when VProx comes out, when developers come to Kaspa and they realize how quick it is, you know, the 10 blocks, eventually 32 blocks by the end of this year, the virtual, you know, VProx, then real demand. So the true breakout for Kaspa is going to come when it's not speculation, but actual use case. When people have to buy Kaspa to interact on the network, that's when the true breakout's going to happen. And as of now, I think it's just moving as a proxy of the market moving, whereas something like BitTensor TAO is moving because of an actual use case of people needing to purchase TAO in order to acquire TAO subnets. So I hope that made sense. But I know it probably isn't the answer you want to hear. But from a technical perspective, I do not think it's broken out of anything. Especially if we look big macro wise. Like I have a chart over here we can look at. Did I do it on market cap? Oh. So I charted this a little bit ago. Let's go to daily. So this is kind of what I would be looking at for Kaspa. So we did come down and tag the 886 fib level at around 2.46, which is extremely bullish. If you want to look low time frame on like a downward channel a little bit, I guess you could say it broke out, but honestly, that's only a month long. You know, I wouldn't hold too much weight on that. The first major thing I would be looking to break out is where it's at now. And it's currently a resistance. So it is at that resistance right now for Kaspa right here. So it is up 50% on the week. However, it could definitely just go back down, you know, and it wouldn't surprise me, if I'm just being honest, if we did some kind of double bottom down here on the 886 fib level, something. Now, this is just what I'm seeing in the charts, right? Like, and taking macro and everything into consideration. Trust me, I would love nothing more than to do and go to new all-time highs, right? Like I own over $1 million Kaspa, not $1 million in Kaspa, but you know, I'm a Kaspa shark, which is still a hefty, you know, 40K bag or something like that. So like I'm definitely incentivized to want Kaspa to go up, but I can't sit here and make stuff up if I don't see it. And so yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing right now. But we can update this tomorrow. We can update this the next day. Quite honestly, as a trader, this is the kind of setups I look at to short because of the risk reward ratio, right? It has nothing to do with my spot bag. It's just trading because you're at a trend line. Very easy to set a stop loss that's just a little bit up. So if you look, the loss potential, you know, 2.5%. The gain potential 26% to 35%, right? And if I add a little leverage on that, it can really be a good trade. But I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. In these times, I would rather just, if it's not something that the asset itself has a ton of demand independently of Bitcoin, I would rather just trade Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the most liquidity, right? You're not going to see a whole bunch of like random single wicks from one person buying 100K worth of something or selling 100K worth of something. You know, there's a lot more liquidity. It's a lot more established of a market cap. Now, something like oil is completely different. And like I said, TAO is different because there's been a ton of demand in it outside of Bitcoin. Like it ran a couple weeks ago from 140 to 2 something when Bitcoin was doing nothing. So, so yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at there. But as always, guys, remember, not a financial advisor. Just a random dude on YouTube. Old chemical engineer. Thank you, sir. Thanks for expressing your opinion. You seem like a solid dude. Man, did you just find me? You're in the Kaspa community? You just found me? Really? Man, I've been making Kaspa content for a long time. I probably got like 100 Kaspa videos on my channel. Go check them out. I made one detailing this chart that we're looking at like a week ago. I think this one is cast bottomed. Here's the technical analysis. And I talked about how I think the low could be in, but that I expect a double bottom. So like maybe not really make a lower low, but either, where is it? Either, you know, come down here and make a double bottom, or maybe a little liquidity sweep. Because what you're often see is people, you know, market makers, whatever, force it down to the liquidity sweep. Because what does a novice trader do? A novice trader opens a trade and he's like, you know what, my stop loss is going to be right here, you know? And so as a market maker, if you come down here and you force the chart down here like that, you know, you grab a ton of liquidity down there. And so I've seen a video lately that I really resonated with. I'll try to find it and show it to y'all tomorrow. But the guy said, hey, when you go to set up a trade, look at where you would put your stop loss. And instead of putting your stop loss there, put your order there and see how many times it goes down there and tags that. And it's just a, you know, a very, very interesting thing. I'm waiting for 53K BTC. How long? I don't know. Just look at Trump's tweets and wait. You know, the cost to mine a Bitcoin right now is like about 60K, right? And so that does have to be taken into consideration with how low something goes. But if this is just a bear flag that so far we're abiding by, rejected right off the top, and if you want to take a measurement and say we break out from here, that takes it to about 45K BTC. And I showed before, if you draw a full fib for this cycle, we bottomed around 16K. This is good enough. We won't pinch pennies or anything. You can see the 786 fib level is right here at about 40. And then the 618 is 57. And let me add the golden pocket in here real quick. So like the golden pocket from a fib level perspective is 53 to 57. And I would probably side, I mean, you know, the bear flag, this bear flag target hit perfectly. This bear flag target, you know, maybe it keeps going up. Let me put that back there. Let me lock that so I don't pick it up. You know, maybe we keep going into this bull trap a little bit. Maybe we get up to, you know, this 76K level before we break out. And maybe we do bottom around this, you know, this golden pocket. It would kind of make a lot of sense because you have a ton of liquidity all right here. Like you could only imagine all the liquidity sweeping all these lows right here. And this was the big bull flag that was forming before the run up to 120. And so that's kind of what I'm looking at and wanting to take a look at. Last thing, let's scroll. S&P to end the year at 7,600. I hope you don't blow your account much today. This guy does some crazy trades. He does like 6, 7, like 100, 200K. Like short-term options, and it's simulation playing out for Bitcoin and Iran. So this is what Benjamin Cohen's saying. Now that went from 45K to 15K, which was a 75% drop, which would take this to 25K. So I don't see that happening. But the 40-ish is like the most I could really see, I hope. No, I know you for a long time. Just don't comment much. My brother is nonverbal too. Otherwise, I wouldn't comment. But I like your realness. Yeah, man. My son's nonverbal with autism. He's currently 5 years old. I pray that he talks one day, and I hope he does. But I prepare for the worst. But he's a cool little dude. We had a lot of fun on the cruise. He loves water, man. Loves water. He ain't afraid of nothing, so you gotta make sure he don't jump off the cruise boat. But Cas BTC probably gonna get sold off as usual, right? Probably. Yeah, I mean, with crypto, you know, I think that we need real demand for use case, right? So the same way Solana, I mean, just look at the playbook. Look at the playbook. The playbook is open for us, okay? You've looked at the run that Ethereum had, and it was done because people were buying ETH to interact in the ecosystem. You look at Solana, people bought Solana to interact in the ecosystem. Even Tron, I don't use it. I think it's the worst. I hate it. But in China and things, they use Tron a lot. They operate on the ecosystem a lot. Look at BitTensor Tau. People are having to buy the coin to interact with subnets or tokens on the network. Same thing as the playbook for any other layer one. You've got to bring real demand to the ecosystem. And that's when Kaspa will be good. And a little bit of promotion won't hurt. So let's see. Let's go through my list to see if there's any breaking news happening. It's my friend Empress and her dog. I always told her it's the ugliest dog in the world, but she was showing me some pictures when we were at ETH Denver of this dog, and it's actually a pretty cute dog. I'm not going to lie. Also, stable coins on Kaspa would be huge. Ton of liquidity. Economists warn rising oil prices may push the U.S. into a recession. With the Trump administration's oil blockade cutting off fuel to Cuba, the country's electrical grid collapsed on March 16th, causing an island-wide blackout. President Trump, meanwhile, threatened again to topple the country's... Let's see what's next, guys. This might be something we can add on to our recession indicator.
You know, all my life I've been hearing about the United States and Cuba. When will the United States do it? I do believe I'll be having the honor of taking Cuba. That'd be good. That's a big honor.
Taking Cuba.
Taking Cuba in some form, yeah. Taking Cuba. I mean, whether I free it, take it, I think I could do anything I want with it. You want to know the truth? They're a very weakened nation. You know, all my life I've been hearing about the...
Guys, this is either going to be the United States of the world, or this is going to be the whole world hating us and bad times. But like I said, I'm prepared to make money both directions, up and down, short and long. Don't care. I'm in it for the long term. And then for like my IRAs and everything, I just plan on buying long whenever I think it's bottomed and, you know, letting all that cook. But guys, just shout out one more time to our stream sponsor, Blowfin. They've been a great partner with us ever since we started the stream in February. They're where I do all the trading. Let me go look at oil. Yep, oil's back up over 95. So oil going up will most likely mean stocks going down, most likely mean crypto going down. But we have to take a look. But if you want a new exchange, there will be a link down below on X, and it'll be the first thing listed in the description over on YouTube. If not, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll find it. It should also be in a comment and everything. But I've had a great relationship with them. I use them personally. And yeah, so shout out to them, guys. We will see y'all tomorrow, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. I just want to say, be cautious of hearing all the moon boys telling you that we're going to the moon when maybe this could be a huge bear trap, bull trap, huge bull trap. But yeah, be careful, guys. Love you all. See you tomorrow.